Wow, El Camino, you're almost into fifth. Will you pop into my friend's stream? I will poorly answer it, I'm sure. Okay, here's the question. Can you provide any legal basis or legal justification, constitutional or otherwise, for DACA, for the executive branch changing immigration law, particularly in light of the fact that Congress specifically considered these exact policy provisions when they considered bills in Congress, and Congress specifically declined to adopt these specific policy provisions. So, can you provide any legal justification for DACA, constitutional or otherwise? And I say or otherwise because leftists might try to argue that there's a legal justification for government action outside the Constitution. So, I just throw that in there. That's my question. What? His channel? El Camino, I'm not going to be able to wreck Wreck-It Ralph? What? That can't be right. Isn't Wreck-It Ralph like some famous like... No, I absolutely can't, but I do know that Congress can't turn over an executive order with a 2/3 vote. Nice. You got your constitutional law down. Okay. But I'm sure, and you and I agree, Congress is a broken machine. Oh, I mean, of course. I mean, Congress is beyond broken. I mean, but mostly, I mean, that I think has mostly to do. You can honestly blame that on you can honestly trace that back to the American people and the fact that the people don't educate themselves during elections. They don't participate in the political process. They don't hold their public officials to account when it comes to things like, corruption or getting their job done or anything for that matter. So the people got the government that that we deserve. I mean, if people are not going to pay attention whatsoever to politics and aren't going to engage whatsoever with the political process, and they're just going to go about their daily business and just rely on the government whenever the government gives them something without ever second thought, and just consume whatever the media tells them to without second thought, and just come home and watch TV every night and whatever. You're going to get a shit government, which is why we've got a shit government. You and Matt became buds. True. Everyone over here leftist. I'm over here being a rightist. Me and lecturer rightist. Yeah, but rightist isn't a freaking even term. We would be considered right wingers. Maybe is the equivalent to like a leftist. What's the date today? September 5th? Yeah, September 5th. I'm going to make a highlight out of this stream. The average age of DACA recipients were 6.5 years old and taking a protection away that they have had for years. Doesn't seem right. I get why Trump did it. It's a win-win. It appeases the base and gives him deniability in the future. I totally disagree that that's why he did it. But deniability about what? I mean, the reason he did it is because DACA is unconstitutional, and the executive branch doesn't have the authority to change duly passed congressional law. That's just not a constitutional power of the president. So when Obama did that, he usurped congressional power, constitutional congressional power. So like it's a totally unconstitutional law. So that's why Trump did it, not not to appease the base or give them deniability in the future. I don't even know deniability about what. But like he did it because it's a flat out unconstitutional rule. That's what everybody's forgetting. Like of course like the media narrative is going to be, Trump did this because he's racist and he hates immigrants and he hates Hispanics and he hates little kids. Like Trump wants little Hispanic kids to die in the streets and get sent back to war-torn, like drug-ravaged, gang-ravaged, which are also the fault of America, by the way, gangs are. Back to a country ravaged by drug gangs, which, those are the fault of America too, by the way, because of our insatiable demand for drugs. Anyways, it's just like, that's not why he did it. But that's like a typical leftist tactic, is to like immediately attack the personal motives and accuse the other person of wrong, like personal wrongs, and attack their character, attack them on a personal level. Because then when you respond and say, oh no, that's not why Trump did it. Okay, well now we're talking about that forms the basis of the argument, which is the argument is whether or not Trump's a racist and hates little kids. And that's not what the argument is. The argument's about whether the law is constitutional. So like, and you're falling into that same problem right there, Doc Penguin, by accusing Trump of doing it to appease the base and have deniability and stuff, like when that's not the reason he did it. The reason he did it is because DACA is flat out unconstitutional. But stream on YouTube and on Twitch. How you get viewers? Yeah, I mean you can do that for a while, El Camino, but then I don't think I can as a Twitch affiliate, because I signed a contract with Twitch when I became a Twitch affiliate. Do you really believe that's why he did it? Yes, I'm aware it's an unconstitutional rule. El Camino, exactly. I never would have stood behind DACA or DAPA originally, but it happened. What? So just because it happened, now you support it? That's like saying, like, no, I would never have supported, the ISIS when they were trying to take over Iraq, but but it happened. It happened. It's just like that's not a reason to support anything just because it happened. But do I really believe that's why he did it? Oh shit! Wow, the circle moved that much. There's somebody that just parked here. I think it played a role in it. I think part of it is political, that he does think that that's what the American people want, and he thinks it's going to help him in the election. So I do think part of it's political. And like, honestly, like it is tough to buy that. To support your argument, like my biggest problem with him claiming that's the reason is that I don't know if we're going to see him be as consistent on that issue in other areas of executive power. So like if he turns out to be this huge, wow, 15 alive. I've just been chatting politics like crazy. I didn't even know that I'm in the top 15. If he also cuts back on executive power in other areas, then I think he's going to have a lot better basis to believe, or I'm going to have a lot more of a basis to believe that that's the real reason he did this. I can't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, that's what I'm sort of waiting to see. But there are other reasons too. I mean, as a general rule, Trump doesn't support totally unregulated, unlimited immigration to the United States. He does support the rule of law. It's like he wants to enforce the immigration laws. Like that's another reason to do it. And DACA is against the law. So like, that kind of goes to the constitutional one, and also like, as a policy matter, he does support 13 alive. He does support getting rid of illegal immigration. So, I mean, there are obviously other reasons for it, but I think it's unfair for you to just say, oh, it's just because, you know, he wants deniability. I still don't know what deniability about what. I still don't know what you mean by that. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, I was 1 away from the top 10. I got 11th. Why? Like, I hate when people are that far out of the circle and they're just shooting just to shoot. No freaking reason. No freaking reason whatsoever. Lecture is the nicest supporter. Lecture for President 2020. Thank you, El Camino. These people have been here a long time. They pay taxes, Social Security, have to have new. You just got done saying they're 6 years old, and now you're saying they pay taxes, Social Security. They have a nearly flawless criminal. Well, are they 6 years old, or are they paying taxes and Social Security? Like, what the hell? 2020, 2020. Hell yeah. And I mean, okay, so what they pay taxes, like, that's not, there's no reason to give people, like, that's no reason to violate the law. They pay taxes, therefore we should just totally violate the law and just get rid of the Constitution. Like, what? It's not, it's a non sequitur. It doesn't make sense as an argument. Oh, at the time that they were brought here, they were 6.5 years old. Oh, but now, yeah, now they're like adults. Okay. Okay. No, I did know that, but I just forgot. I thought you had meant that, like, the people that are like, under DACA are 6.5 years old now. Like, what about kids that are being brought to the U.S. now? Like, that's my question. Like, okay. I play Dragon's Dogma. Okay, so what? Like, so let me ask you that, Doc Pinion. What about kids that are being brought to the U.S. now? Are they included? And if not, why not? Under DACA, and do you think they should be included? And if not, why not? And if you do think that new childhood arrivals should be just able to stay in the U.S. regardless, like, do you realize how short-sighted that policy is, and how much of, like, how much that's going to encourage people with children to illegally immigrate to the United States? Like, do you not see that? Okay, these people were made a promise, wrong or right, they deserve something resembling a plan. They have something resembling a plan. It's called United States Statute, found in the U.S., otherwise known as U.S. Code. There's a plan right there about how to legally immigrate to the United States. Oh, Braum Baby's in the house. What up, Braum Baby? Welcome to the stream. But, like, what do you, I mean, people were made a promise. Were they? What, I don't know if that's a promise. Like, I'm pretty sure DACA doesn't count as a promise. And even if there, like, even if you want to apply, like, traditional contract law, there would have been no, like, consideration for the promise, so it wouldn't even be an enforceable promise under traditional common law, because there's their failure of consideration. But so, like, but I don't even think it qualified as a promise. Like, I don't think Obama ever went to these and even so, like, what was it a promise from? It was a promise from the president not to enforce existing U.S. law. Like, obviously, that's a promise that only goes so far as the president goes. And, like, honestly, you ask these people on DACA, like, and they know that. They know that it was a President Obama thing. Like, they all were like super worried and super nervous when they found out Trump was president. Cause like, oh shit, we know that Trump can just, with the flick of a pen, just get rid of this, because that's what leftists are also really short-sighted about with executive policies like DACA, which is one of the most egregious abuses and expanses of the imperial executive that we've ever seen in the United States, even worse than FDR. But they don't understand that, oh yeah, if a president does it unilaterally on his own like that, then, a president can undo it unilaterally on his own. So it wasn't much of a promise, even if I was going to concede that it was a promise. Seriously, these things are insane. I don't think I can fight these at this level, not consistently anyway. Come on. Run! Are you serious?
I'll scale it. Strike while it's distracting.
Get the hell out of here. That's what we need to do.
I shall restore your health. Hold on.
Why are they still fighting it? Run, people. Oh. It's got a hold of Laura. DACA was a good start, but definitely not to change or rework the immigration. It was a good start. Like, I mean, I disagree. I don't think you could call something as patently as unconstitutional as DACA was a good start. You might agree with the policy goals in it, but if you agree with that, go get Congress to pass the statute. That you don't get to have just the president just unconstitutionally unilaterally change U.S. federal law without like if the U.S. president can just change federal law at the president's whim, what the hell good is Congress and having laws? Like, it's nothing. Like, I don't know how you could consider something a good start when it was a patent abuse of executive power and clearly unconstitutional, and one of the most egregious sort of like violations of the U.S. Constitution like we've ever seen in America. Know what I'm saying?
If I may say so myself.
Like I said, I'm okay with border security and deportation, but I feel these specific 800 people deserve something more. A large number of those kids only know America. They haven't done anything you and I have done here, and we are considered Americans. No, I get your I get it, but if you think that it should be the law, get Congress to pass a statute and have that become U.S. law. The problem is that's never going to become law, Doc Penguin, because you cannot have a country that and just allow anybody that's brought here as a kid to become U.S. citizens. Like, we're not gonna have a country. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. Like, I don't know, you would have to have almost like a complete lack of understanding of economics and history and politics to actually think that that would be a good public policy to have, to say that anybody that's brought to the United States as a kid can become an American citizen. Like, that's one of the worst public policies you could possibly. Like, I understand feeling bad for these kids, and I agree with you. I feel bad for them too. I think, you know,
I hear Alt moving about the
honestly,
hall.
like, if I met one of these people in real life, would do everything I can to help him out on a personal, like, man-to-man level.
Chimera!
And I like, I'm all for helping these people out and being kind to them, respecting them, and loving them. But I don't think that that justifies violation of the Constitution, like a clear and obvious one. Where am I? How are there still those big beasts here? Jeez. Oh, I'm like up in the mountains. No wonder.
Grab hold of it!
Oh! The idea is that he can pass short-term statutes to see if they work with being as permanent as a constitutional statute. I would hope not as a minor, but as a small change, like under 5. I never said anybody who makes it here as a kid. I'm talking very specific to these 800,000. Well, okay. Well, how is that fair? Doc Penguin, how is that fair? So these specific 800,000 are just special, and then everybody else that's brought here as a kid can just get fucked? Or like what? What's your, like, so why only these 800,000? Because what's the difference between a 5-year-old coming here versus if that child was born here? Well, if you're born here, you're an American citizen by virtue of judicial interpretations of the 14th Amendment. But I don't know. I don't understand what you were saying, like, Braun baby. You're actually saying that, like, you think the president should be able to make, like, should be able to just unilaterally change law for a short time period and on minor issues. And so then is it up to the president to determine what's a short time period and what's a minor issue? Like, that's, to me, seems like a very bad standard to have, just right for abuse, and like totally unconstitutional under the current U.S. Supreme Court jurisprudence. That doesn't seem to be playing a whole lot of. Doesn't seem to be playing a whole lot into our discussion here.
Sever the tail to weaken the
Holy cow, I'm tired. Wait, did we already kill the... Oh, I was gonna say, did you kill this thing? Take it down. Whoa. Oh, what? We killed the snake.
You cannot leave.
There's like 3 different beasts on this thing. insane. Immigration is national security, which is under the president's jurisdiction. No, actually, the Constitution specifically says Congress gets to make laws about immigration. It specifically says that. It's an enumerated power of Congress. Oh shit! Oh shit! Yeah, it's like laws about immigration is a specific enumerated power of Congress. And I love how, like, I think it's funny how people want to argue, oh, look, no, look, the president can, you know, make determinations about immigration because of national security. But then when Trump made a temporary halt to immigration from certain countries to put in place vetting mechanisms, that was totally unconstitutional. When there was a specific statute in the U.S. Code that gave the president plenary authority to determine what class of aliens may come into the United States at any given moment. That's actually the difference between that. Like President Trump's executive order on immigration was actually constitutional on the merits, whereas DACA is not constitutional on the merits. And that goes to congressional law. The reason congressionally passed law. The reason that the difference is one of them is consistent and authorized by law, the other one is not. I mean, plain and simple. DACA is in violation of the law. Trump's order was consistent and pursuant to the law. Plus, DACA has nothing to do with national security. Trump's order actually did. DACA actually hurt national security, if anything. It goes against that. Doc Penguin, okay, that's fair. You're totally entitled to feel that we made a promise and that they deserve something. You're entitled to feel that way. You can feel that way. I mean, I tend to actually agree. I just don't think that what they deserve and what we ought to do for them is DACA, because all the reasons I've already articulated. And am I wrong in saying that most wars since World War II have been illegal because he did with presidential powers as opposed to Congress? It would be most wars since the 1973 War Powers Act. Yeah. Because the U.S. Constitution says Congress has to declare all wars. And then, obviously, Vietnam, there was no declaration of war. And so then in 1973, Congress passed the War Powers Act. Basically said, president has to get congressional authorization to go to war. And then that was never followed, never enforced, never adjudicated. The courts will actually refuse to adjudicate that issue because it's a part of the doctrine of judicial judicial restraint, where the judiciary won't decide that issue because it's a political question. Boom! Holy cow. That took actually a lot of A lot of effort. Okay, I need to get going back to.
Hold on.
I need to get going back to tools. Use. So staying in Afghanistan is that against the rule of law? I mean, it's a like I said, it's an academic theory that says that yeah, you could posit an academic theory that staying in Afghanistan violates the U.S. Constitution and the 1973 War Powers Act. Yes, you can say that. Whether it matters or not, whether it makes any difference whatsoever, whether it will ever be decided by a court, no, it won't. So it's kind of a pointless point to make. But yeah, you're totally entitled to. I mean, just like honestly, just like when people said DACA was unconstitutional when President Obama was president, it's like, great, you can say that. What good is it going to do you? Like, the president doesn't care about the Constitution. He's not going to follow it. You could get a court to say it's unconstitutional, but you know, the president's still going to do what he's going to do. Honestly. At least Obama does.
I've a hold on it! Sever the tail!
Beware the look of this view.
Their spears have long reach.
Strike the tail!
I'll do the rest!
Piece of crap.
All right, Master. Arisen. I'm at your side.
Honestly, this game is just like kind of nothing but freaking battling. It feels like sometimes.
No, they hold the advantage!
Just spraying, just slaying.
No, leave the tail from its
Spam
body!
slaying. Uh-oh.
In lands where men fear to dwell.
Oh,
I feel like I should say I didn't vote this election. I really felt like we had to pick between the lesser two evils and it didn't sit well with me. Yeah, I agree that it was the lesser of two evils. I agree with that. I voted, but...
stop it! Strike the tail!
Be more cautious. Don't overdo it.
But sever the tail! Stop it!
How many of these things are there?
I'm ready for a single blow! 'Tis a troubling foe! 'Tis this to sever the tail! I hold the best I'm able! Strike the tail!
Do worry, I'm here. We cannot lose such an opening.
Other than DACA being unconstitutional, what positives do you make for Trump phasing it out?
Beware the liquid!
I think it's overall it's a return to the rule of law with our immigration system and going back to actually enforcing the law. Because under Obama, he didn't enforce immigration laws. He actually cut off like cities and states that actually did enforce the law, like Arizona, for example. Like some of the stuff that Obama did to Arizona is honestly just so revolting and disgusting. So I think like going back to enforcing the law is a good thing. I think the fact that it limits incentives for additional illegal immigration, I think that's a positive.
The tail! Hurry while I've a hold!
The fact that like that's like the fact that Trump is following through on a promise he made during the presidential election to the American people, and is one of the main reasons the American people voted for Trump. I think that's a positive. What else?
Think well before striking.
Let's circle round the back!
I think the fact that like he's focusing on securing the border and then focusing on like how to resolve the like number of illegal immigrants in the country, I think that's a positive. That's a good thing, because honestly, without fixing the border and securing the border, like we can give 800,000 people citizenship here, 10 million people there, 15 million here, or another 800,000 there, 200,000 here. Like all these little special groups people come up with and give them free American citizenship, just like it's just something to be given away. You know, just give it away. It's not just American citizenship, no big deal. It's just give it away. So like the fact that we're focusing on securing the border and limiting sort of these horrible policies that do nothing to solve problems and actually encourage problems and create more problems, I think that's a positive. Like clearly there's a lot. But the main one is that it's unconstitutional, and like honestly, I don't even have to go beyond that. And the fact that you still defend DACA even though it's unconstitutional, that says a lot. And so like my point, honestly, I've been saying for a long time that like the debate, honestly, in the United States, it's no longer between like Republicans and Democrats. It's literally a debate between people that support the U.S. Constitution and the rule of law and people that don't. And so like me bringing up this point and having people actually disagree with me on it is like proving that point even stronger. That honestly people don't give a one whit about the U.S. Constitution or the rule of law. What they care about is having their own personal policy preferences passed. That's it. That's all. Is it unconstitutional? Who cares? Do I like it? Good, go for it. It's unconstitutional, but I still like it. Cool, do it. You know, like. Oh shoot! Hold on, I missed a whole bunch of chat. Oh. Main reason most people didn't even know what DACA was, right? No, I'm saying immigration was one of the main reasons. Immigration was like Trump's like #1 policy issue. Like, you should know. Come on, Doc Penguin, don't be disingenuous. You know, immigration was the #1 issue for Trump. None of my legal or history teachers have taught that immigration was part of Congress. Really? They know English, they pay taxes, what do they have to do so we don't give it away? I always assumed it kind of fell under the president or national security. Makes sense now that I think about border control and all that. Yeah. Did you look it up, Ron Baby? Did you like actually go look up the provision in the Constitution or what? And I'm sure your teachers never taught it because at the time it didn't serve their purposes, because during this time period you were going to school, President Obama was president, and of course your teachers all probably wanted anything Obama, you know, let's expand the power of the presidency. That's what leftists do, is they like expand the power of the presidency when liberals are in office because, oh, he's going to do what we want. It's so short-sighted and myopic. It's just like, okay, well, now that when there's somebody in the president that disagrees with you, he can just reverse it, you know? Yeah, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. Nice. All right. Hell yeah. Did you actually doubt me, though, Brown Baby? Or did you go look it up because you were curious? All my history teachers are Republican. Guess just never came up. Okay. Huh. That's fair, yeah.
Don't allow the...
I find it hard to believe, though, that the president has no power to pass related to immigration. What about the sheriff pardons in Arizona? Only thing I can think of is if Congress specifically designated that power to the president. But I don't think they have. Yeah, well, I'll find you the. Yeah, there. I'll quote you the United States. This article looks like it finds it. Federal law. Yeah. So this says, in his order, Mr. Trump quotes a 1952 immigration law that gives the president the ability to suspend entry of all aliens or any class of aliens into the U.S. when he deems it detrimental to the interests of the United States. So they actually don't quote the full statute, and they kind of butcher it, but like, yeah, basically there is a specific U.S. law that said Trump can suspend entry to any class of immigrants. There's not a specific U.S. statute that says the president can just unilaterally on his own decide to give 800,000 people U.S. citizenship or legal status, whatever you want to call it. Legal status is going to eventually end up being in U.S. citizenship. Here, I'll find the actual statute for you. Yeah, 18 U.S. Code 1182, I think. Wait, nope, this isn't it. Oh, here's the Time article about it. None of these articles. Oh yeah, here it is. They actually quote it. Whenever the president finds that entry of any aliens or any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. There's a specific federal statute that grants the president the authority to do exactly what President Trump did in his executive immigration order. With DACA, it's the exact opposite. There's a specific U.S. statute that goes exactly against DACA. That specifically said, like, Congress specifically considered DACA and said, no, this is not, we're not going to vote for this. This is not in the interest of the American people. This is not good for the country. And so, it can't be any more clear that DACA is wholly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the separation of powers. It violates the rule like requiring that all laws be passed by Congress, which is kind of just a separation of powers thing. It's it's clearly unconstitutional. Like, the president cannot just change federal immigration law. Now, what the president can do is make discretionary choices on how to allocate limited resources with respect to enforcing laws, and that's how presidents have typically gotten out of it, gotten around that like law. Doc Penguin, what about the sheriff pardons in Arizona? That's a whole nother topic. If you so you're done with the whole DACA topic.
Arisen, I'm at your side.
Hey, Cornwallis. I had first day of school. It was boring. What the hell are you calling me Cornwallis for?
Some sort legacy. Just wait. You'll see a weak, find an opening, then strike.
I don't even know what that means, Cornwallis.
Out of the way!
Sounds like a general's name or something. Wallace. Oh, a little shit. Wow. Charles Cornwallis. You asshole, yeah, man. Otherwise, a British Army officer. You little shit, yeah, man. No, so honestly, like, what I'm looking for, like, what I really would love to see is some leftist lawyer actually come in and try to make a legal argument that supports DACA. And you actually can make them. Like, I'm making it sound like it's a closed and shut case, that it's unconstitutional, and it is. But the legal arguments you have to come up with to justify it are so far-fetched and ludicrous and absurd that they would just be fun as all heck to just make fun of and ridicule and shoot down out of thin air. I'm not done with DACA. But if you're only going to argue the liberal side, I'm capable of arguing the moral side, then we are at an impasse. No, I mean, I actually kind of agreed that we're kind of done with it. Because you're like, yeah, even though it's unconstitutional, I feel something ought to be done. Like, okay, you can feel that way. I mean, and like I said, I actually agree with the feeling, but it's unconstitutional. But, I guess that's, yeah, and then I kind of got into my point about how it's so disturbing to me that people actually just believe in openly violating the Constitution. Just no big deal. I mean, so if that's going to be your position, that like, okay, I think it's morally right that we do something, therefore fuck the Constitution. If that's your position, then okay, yeah, we're at an impasse. But I didn't know if you were going to actually try to defend yourself against my accusations. Or if you were just gonna let those roll, let those ride. Okay, the president can't control who comes in specifically because it deals U.S. relations with foreign nations. Congress controls immigration policy directly because historically immigration deals more with taxes. I mean, maybe that's why, but maybe there were other reasons that the founders like enumerated immigration as a power for Congress. I mean, maybe I think it's more that like immigration is something that affects the country as a whole and not individual states. So that's why it's actually a congressional powers, because it actually affects the whole country. It doesn't just affect individual states. I mean, and that was historically the only thing the federal government is supposed to be involved with, is things that affected the entire country and not like individual states. That's why the Interstate Commerce Clause is such a was supposed to be sort of a limiting thing, but it has turned out to not be. It's been an okay conversation. I agree, Doc Penguin. It was actually state controlled until 1849.